Language development presented by Jackie Gaunt. Training objectives. After this training, participants should have learned the different types of communication, which are verbal and nonverbal. Participants should understand the difference between speech and language development. Participants should be able to identify when a child is not meeting their communication milestones and learn ways to help support communication development in infant and toddlers. Forms of communication. One form of communication is nonverbal. This is conveying messages without the use of words. This includes facial expressions, postures, hand gestures, eye contact, and tone of voice. The other form of communication is verbal. This is using spoken words. Verbal communication for infants and toddlers evolves from cries, coos, and babbles like baba, mama, to simple words like milk and dog, and eventually 2 to 3 word phrases like more juice, go bye-bye. This is often focusing on needs, objects, and actions. Developmental milestones for infants. This includes children between the age range of birth to 12 months. Children at this age range should be crying. This is the earliest form of verbal communication for needs like hunger or discomfort. Children at this stage should be cooing, making vowel sounds like ooh and ah that show contentment starting around 1 month. Starting around 6 months, children should start to babble. This is using consonant vowel combinations like baba, mama, dada. This is showing that they're practicing sounds. At infancy, children at this age should also be participating in sound play, making various noises, grunts, or experimenting with their voice. And at this age, developmentally, they should start to be able to understand, looking for faces, smiling, pausing when hearing the word no, and looking for objects that might be named, like, where's the ball? The child should be able to look over to where the ball is located. Developmental milestones for a 1-year-old. By this age, children should start to say at least 1 to 3 words of common objects or people, such as mama or ball. At the age of 1, children should also be able to follow simple directions. If by 1 year old the child is not babbling, does not respond to their name, or is not using gestures, this is cause for concern. By the age of 2 years old, the child should be using 50 or more words. At this point, they should start combining 2 word phrases to start to form sentences, like want cookie. If by 2 years old, a child has fewer than 50 words, is not combining words to start to form sentences, or is participating in echolalia, which is just repeating the words that are said to them, this is a cause for concern. At 3 years old, the child should be speaking in short sentences of 3 words or more. An example would be, I go park. At 3 years old, the child should be able to answer who, what, when, why questions that are asked. If by 3 years old, the child is struggling to form sentences or is hard to understand, this is a cause for concern. Speech versus language. Speech is the physical production of sounds that form words, requiring precise muscle movements of the mouth. Language is the ability to understand and use words to communicate. Within speech is articulation. This is how we make speech sounds using the mouth, lips, and tongue. For example, we need to be able to say the R sound to say rabbit instead of wabbit. Within speech also is voice, how you use your vocal cords and breathe to make sounds. Our voice can be loud or soft, or high or low pitched. We can hurt our voice by talking too much, yelling, or coughing a lot. Fluency. Fluency is the rhythm of our speech. We sometimes repeat sounds or pause while talking. People who do this often may stutter. Within language, there is receptive language, which is understanding, the ability for the child to understand what is being said to them. This can be demonstrated in following directions, answering questions when asked, and also being able to identify objects. Expressive language is when a child uses words to share thoughts, such as speaking, forming sentences, and asking questions. Building blocks of language. Sentence growth occurs with communication. An example of this would be at 12 months, the child learns the word ball. By 2 years old, they are now describing the ball as in big ball. And by 3 years old, the child should be able to put a sentence together with at least 3 words. An example of this would be big ball rolls. Children who have speech delays may understand everything but struggle to say words. They may have difficulty with sounds, for example, saying wabbit versus rabbit. They could stutter or have fluency issues repeating words. They could struggle to say words clearly, which could be difficult to understand, and also may have difficulty coordinating mouth movement, struggling forming the words with their mouth. Children who have language delays have poor comprehension, not understanding the meaning of words or simple stories. They could also have difficulty understanding and following simple instructions. They may have difficulty forming sentences and also have limited vocabulary for their age. Signs that warrant evaluation. If by 18 months a child has no words, doesn't point, or respond to their name, it is a sign that warrants further evaluation. If by 2 years old, the child has fewer than 50 words, is not combining at least 2 words together to form sentences, this warrants further evaluation. If by the age of 3 years old, the child is struggling with simple sentences or is hard to understand, this warrants further evaluation. And if at any age the child has a loss of speech or social skills, this is a sign that warrants further evaluation. Adults can support verbal communication. This can be done by talking, describing daily activities, objects, feelings, and things that you see to the child. Adults can also model words, using new words during play to expand the child's vocabulary. Adults can respond and expand. When a child babbles or says a word, smile and repeat it, and then add to it. An example would be if the child says dog, you say, yes, big dog. Read and sing. Share books and sing songs to build vocabulary and rhythm. Get on their level. Make eye contact and speak clearly at their eye level to help them focus. And lastly, use visual aids and gestures to encourage speech. What to do if you have a concern with a child's communication. Discuss any concern you have regarding the child's language development with the parent. Send an internal referral to the disability component if the child is not meeting their developmental milestones. Participate in the development of the child's individualized goals. And lastly, partner with parents to support the child's communication development.